Well, here we are again, and if last time was a milestone, this is even a bigger milestone because this is our last content lecture. Today we're going to be finishing Unit 6, and remember the subject is customs of the world. We continue looking at this fascinating subject of how people have different ways of doing things in their own culture. And our initial page for this section gets us involved in this, and here we see two young ladies from Japan. And it says, these young women celebrate Coming of Age Day in Japan. So this betrays the fact that our lecture in the second part of this unit will be about coming of age ceremonies, how people come of age in different cultures. Let's look at some of the questions they address at the top. Pre-listening questions. At what age does a person come of age or become a legal adult in your culture? Again, I can't answer that, but I have asked some of my students here in Saudi Arabia, and they usually say 18, but I'm not sure about that. I'm not informed. Everybody has to decide about his own culture. Number 2, do you know of any special customs or ceremonies when a person becomes an adult? I don't know of it here. In some societies it's very important, but is it different from boys and girls? I don't think it's so pertinent here in the Middle East. I may be wrong, but we're going to hear about some cultures where it is very important. As you see here, Japanese culture hasn't. And I hope you'll see there that these young ladies are dressed in traditional dress. Traditional means the old way. Now, here in Saudi Arabia, people regularly use traditional dress. The thobe and the gutra would be considered traditional. But in some countries, on special occasions, they wear traditional, and every day they wear Western clothes. So it's just about traditional clothing. All right, before we listen to or you listen to the lecture today, I'm going to be reading it. There's some vocabulary we need to preview. And these, I've already done them for you. Maybe you prepared them if you have the book. The woods, an area thickly covered with trees. In one of the cultures we discuss, woods are important for the coming of age ceremony. Adult. Notice G, a person who has grown up, not a child. When you cease to be a child, you become an adult. Some of you may know we have a term in English, adolescent, for the stage between child and adult. But adult means fully grown. And then number 3, adulthood. Notice the change in stress from adult to adulthood. And the hood, the suffix, makes it the time. So here we have B, the time of life when a person is not a child anymore. So after you are maybe 18, 19, 20, the rest of your life is adulthood. Number 4, ceremony. We talked about this word before, a formal or traditional way of celebrating an important event. In some cultures, there will be a ceremony. In others, there will not be. It varies according to the culture. Number 5, responsible for something, and that is F. In control of something, taking care of something, to be responsible for. 6, passage. Passing, from the verb to pass, a movement to the next stage or level, to the next stage or level of something. Passing, and we call these rites of passage, these ceremonies. Number 7, look forward to something, that is C, to wait for an event with a feeling of pleasure. Now, I'm sure all of you are looking forward to doing the homework for this course. Then you look forward to doing the final exam. Hope you will enjoy it. I am joking, but there is truth in it. Now, I'm not going to show you the next section because I want you to listen and see if you can identify the 3 cultures that are being talked about. So you're going to hear the lecture now, and there are 3 different cultures being talked about. Are you ready? Lecture. Coming of age ceremonies. At what age does a child become an adult? Well, the answer depends on your culture. Here are some examples. First of all, if we take Native American or North American Indian culture, a boy becomes a man around the age of 13, a boy. At this time, he goes into the woods alone, without food or water, for several days. He stays there, and when he returns safely, he's considered to be an adult. So that is his rite of passage going into the woods. Girls, however, do not have a ceremony. They become adults as soon as they're old enough to have babies, so that means around the age of 12 or 13. Now that was in North America. Now we move to Japan. As you know, to Japan, a traditional culture, and young people in Japan become adults at their 20th birthday, at the age of 20. But every year, on the second Monday in January, they celebrate Coming of Age Day. It's a celebration of their adulthood. On that day, all the 20-year-olds in a given community are invited to attend a special ceremony. They wear their traditional clothes, they listen to speeches, and they visit with old friends. Now finally, we're going to look at the United States, a country that's really not known for its traditions, but they still have customs. Now in the United States, adulthood comes by stages. The first important stage comes with the 16th birthday. It's so important to become 16 because you get your driver's license. Of course, that makes you independent. You can drive. But the legal age, according to law, the legal age is still 18. At 18, a young man or a young woman can vote, can take a full-time job, get married on her or his own, and can work full-time. So you have really two markers there. Okay, from listening, you should have identified that there were three different cultures: North American Indian or Native American, Japan, and the USA. Now, that is general listening, but also, if you were taking down notes, you could have taken down notes this way. And what the important thing is to know how you organize these facts. Remember that when you take your exam and also future listening comprehension exams, you'll want to take down information, and it's not a good idea to write from one side of the page to the other. Try to organize the information. And so here, for each culture, we have the age. For North American Indians, 12 to 13. Important facts: into woods, several days, no food or water, when returned safely, becomes a man. So that's the boy. Girls, when babies. So when they have babies, 12 to 13. So notice that we have different situations for the boys and the girls. In Japan, the age is 20. We find that the second Monday in January is Coming of Age Day. Special ceremony, traditional clothes, speeches, visit old friends. Notice some of the aspects here of note-taking. Traditional, T-R-A-D. Very difficult to write out that long word. We don't like to write things more than we need to. Let's look at the USA. 16 or 18. 16, birthday, driver's license. 18, legal, can vote, marry, work full-time. Now, if you took notes like this, it would be very easy to answer questions. For example, when does a young North American boy become an adult? You'd look and you'd see 13. When is Coming of Age Day in Japan? Second Monday in January. When does a young person in America get his driver's license? 16th birthday. So this is a nice example of taking notes. After you listen, summarizing ideas. In groups of four, use your notes. Well, we've done that. Let's go on to our vocabulary. Are you legally an adult? Well, I don't know. It depends on you. I can't really know, but that would depend on your society and your age. 2, which is easier in your opinion, adulthood or childhood? Well, again, you'll have your opinion on that. Most of us look back to childhood as a time that was easy. We didn't have many decisions. We didn't have many responsibilities, but you might think differently. Number 3, in your community, is there a ceremony when a baby is born? If yes, describe it. Students usually tell me here that shortly after the birth of a baby boy that there's a special party. That would be a ceremony, something you observe. And number 4, when you were a teenager, were you responsible for watching your younger brothers and sisters? Well, again, that depends on your family. Many of us were. It depends where you were in the family. If you're the number 1 or number 4 or number 6, it depends what responsibilities. A few more questions. What has been the most important passage in your life until now? Well, for some of you who are married, probably the passage from unmarried to married. That is a passage. If you have graduated from some college or school, that might also be the important passage for you. All of us in our lives go through many passages. Number 2 or number 6, are you looking forward to the next passage in your life? Graduation, marriage, children, retirement? I hope so. I hope you're looking forward. And some of you are, of course, planning to be English majors, and therefore a passage in a few years from being an undergraduate to being a graduated student, that is a very nice passage, something to look forward to. And number 7, how would you feel about going into the woods alone for 3 days? Why would you feel this way? Well, that depends on you. I think it depends where the woods is also, and how many wild animals and how many snakes and things there are in it. Some of us are more adventurous than others. In the page here we have another thing about passage. Here we see this young lady, very happy. She's made a passage into the world of drivers. She got her driver's license, I assume, and so these are things that are associated. Now they ask, at what age do you get a driver's license, do you get married, vote? Well, all of this will vary depending on where you're from and maybe also depending on your family. But now we go on to what we oftentimes do, and this is called, in fact we do it every unit, contexts, where you hear a conversation, and using that as a context, you have to answer particular questions. Now, in this particular case, they are showing us that sometimes we'll be comparing pre-listening discussion. When you visit other countries, it's important to know the local customs. Polite behavior in one culture can be rude in another culture. For example, kissing a friend to say hello is normal in France, but not in Korea. Give examples of some polite and rude behaviors from your culture. Discuss with your group. Well, I'm sure you could fill in many examples. For example, it would be, of course, very rude to shake hands with your left hand. This would be very impolite, very rude. It would be rude to go into someone's house without taking off your shoes. I'm sure you can make quite a list. But our contexts have to do with this question of rude and polite behavior. And you must listen to hear what is the problem. That means somebody has gone against a custom. All right, are you ready to do this? So listen, and then we'll see if you would have chosen the same one. Listen to this context. Hi, Belinda. Hi, Yuka. What are you doing here? Oh, I was in your neighborhood. I just wanted to say hi. That's nice. Are you busy? Yes, a little bit, but come in for a few minutes anyway. What mistake did Yuka make? Well, I decided she didn't call before visiting. You heard the, what are you doing here? So the person, yeah, that's nice. Yes, a little bit. So we understand that she should have called. In some cultures, it's important to call before visiting, and others not. Oh, I showed you the answers. Next one. Conversation 2. Listen for the answer to this context. Excuse me, waiter. Yes, are you ready to pay, sir? Yes, here you are. Thank you. Excuse me, sir, was there a problem with your food? No, it was delicious, thank you. Was the service okay? I mean, did I do anything? No, you were great. Excellent service. Oh, okay. I wasn't sure. What mistake did the customer probably make? Now, he didn't eat his food. He forgot to leave a tip. He asked for the check. I guess he forgot to leave the tip. If the waiter keeps saying, was there something wrong? Wasn't the food good? Probably he didn't leave the tip. So the questions are the clues here. Probably the service, did I do anything? Was there a problem? Indicates a problem with the tip. Conversation 3. Listen for the problem. Wow, this is a great house. Thanks. When did you move in? We bought it 2 months ago. We finally moved in last week. How much did you pay for it? Well, it was a pretty good price. Would you like to have a drink or something? Well, I think you know what the mistake was. He asked about the price. Now, he asked too many questions to ask the woman for a drink. No, in some cultures, it's very impolite to ask about the price of something. So that varies from culture to culture. Okay, let's move on now to our next section about comparing customs. Review the mistakes you heard in the focus on testing. That was our context section. Make a statement about each custom, then compare it to customs in other countries. Now it says in American restaurants a 15 to 20% tip is normal, but in this part of the world I think that is not so common. So again, it varies. Italy, high tip, Dubai, low tip, things like that. Number 2, before visiting someone in the United States, it's better to call first, but of course, in some countries, you can just stop by and knock on the door. Hello, here I am. But again, that's a matter of custom. Another custom we heard was, in some countries, you can ask the price of a house, or how much did you pay for that shirt, but in other countries, that would be bad. So, comparing customs. Language functions. Apologizing. The following expressions are often used after we make a mistake and feel bad about a situation. The mistake may be small, stepping on someone's foot, or serious, being a half hour late for a test. Apologizing. Oops, excuse me. Sorry. I'm very sorry. It was my fault. I apologize. Please forgive me. Notice on a scale from informal, oops, excuse me, sorry. It was I apologize. Please for more formal. Response to an apology, forget about it. Don't worry about it. No problem. Those are rather informal. That's okay. That's all right. I forgive you. Those are more formal. So different ways to respond to that situation. Following up on our subject of conflicting customs, the conflicting customs can also be individual. I think you see this man is more than a bit unhappy, banging on the door, turn it down, and we see our friend inside with his large stereo system, turning it on and maybe turning it up. Again, this is a disagreement in custom. Okay, so these are situations. Let's read about some other situations. It's 6 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday. Your neighbor, Saturday of course is like Thursday here, a day when people don't work. Your neighbor comes to your door to complain that your music is too loud. Well, if you're nice, you'd apologize. If you're not nice, you'd say forget it. Number 2, you forgot about your doctor's appointment at 3 p.m. today. The doctor's secretary calls you to ask what happened. I'm sure you'd say, I'm very sorry, I forgot about it, and please ask to have a new appointment. Number 3, you don't feel well and you need to leave in the middle of the class. You'd probably say to the teacher, excuse me, I'm not feeling well. Could you please excuse me? And I'm sure he would if it was necessary. All right, we're nearing now the part 4. Here we get down to customs, real-world tasks. And we're going to be looking at dining customs. Remember we said dining means eating formally. Now, if you buy a sandwich at a local cafeteria and you eat it, that's not dining. Dining implies you sit at a table, you have a plate, you have silverware, you have everything in front of you. This is proper dining. A nice restaurant is a dining experience. Here we have a formal dinner party in the United States. You see how the young fellow is dressed up very nicely. He's carrying some silverware for the table. Let's read the culture note about formal dining. Family dinners in the United States are usually relaxed and informal. However, sometimes when special guests are invited, or if you're eating in a restaurant, especially a fine restaurant, dinners are more formal and traditional. A formal American dinner usually has the following parts served in order. First you have a soup, then you have a salad, then you have a main course, which is usually meat, chicken, or fish, with potato or rice and other cooked vegetables. And finally you have a dessert. The dessert is something sweet, usually cake or ice cream, but it also can be fruit. Typically bread and butter are served before the salad is served, and water is almost always served. Just a little note, many times in a restaurant you may say you'd like to have your salad with the main course. Many people do that. They like to have the salad at the same time. So you do have options. It's not written in stone. It's not something that has to be. It's not so rigid. Some pre-listening questions. What are typical parts of a formal dinner in your culture? Again, you'll have to answer that, but I'm sure it's not as many as the French, where they have 7 courses. You may have a main course and a dessert. Maybe you have an appetizer, a main course, and a dessert. I really can't tell you. What special foods or beverages are served at formal dinners that you don't usually have every day? Again, I can't tell you. Maybe some special fruit juices or some mixture. I'm sure a mixture, for example, of Perrier with apple juice is a very nice thing to have. Number 4, have you ever eaten in a formal restaurant or at a formal dinner party? Well, if you have, I'm sure it was a fine experience. Maybe you learned some things. And today, if you did have such an experience, today's task will look familiar to you. Previewing our vocabulary. Listen to the underlined words. You will hear these words in the conversation. Before you listen, use the context to guess their definitions. Write the letter of the correct definition beside each sentence. Some of you may have solved this if you have the book. Number 1, take a couple of napkins. These sandwiches are really messy. A napkin, as you see, is H, a piece of cloth or paper used to protect your clothes and wipe your mouth while eating. And we'll be seeing that in our task. 2, D, when I was a teenager, it was my job to set the table each night before dinner. And that's D, to put dishes, plates, glasses on the table for a meal. Now, our task actually is going to be setting the table, so we're going to be doing that. Number 3, in a restaurant, it is a waiter's job to serve the food and drinks. So serve, G, to give or bring something. So the waiter serves. I'm sure you know that some restaurants now you have, not restaurants, but cafeterias, it's self-service. You serve yourself. But in our restaurant, the waiter serves you. 4, oh, what happened there? Okay, number 4, please lay that box on the dining room table. Okay, I have to center that there. F, to put something down, is to lay. So when you set the table, you lay things on the table. Number 5, Europeans use silverware to eat with, while many Asians prefer chopsticks. Silverware, B, knives, forks, and spoons. Of course, if they're very good, they'll be made of silver. Number 6, be careful with that knife. Pick it up only by the handle. Handle, C, the part of a tool that you hold in your hand. Of course, a knife, not a good idea to pick it up by the blade. The blade is the non-handle part, might be sharp. 7, What kind of kitchen utensil is this? B, it's a potato peeler. It's much easier to use than a knife. So utensil, any kind of kitchen tool. Okay, maybe for cutting the meat or for peeling the potatoes or whatever. Number 8, it is logical not to eat food that tastes bad. And so logical, we have E, the part of a tool. E, sorry, I got the wrong one. Reasonable or sensible. And we're going to see that when you set the table, the way it's set is logical. There's a reason for things being in the places where they are. So our task is going to be following directions for setting a table. Now, in your book, you have these illustrations. You have the illustration of the various pieces of silverware, and then you have the picture of the plate and fork, and then you had to place the others by putting numbers. So maybe you'd like to try that, and then we'll check how well you did. So here we're now going to hear about setting the table. Okay, well, we start by putting the napkin in the center of the dinner plate. Now we'll shift down here and we see we put a number 1 there because that's where it is. The napkin, you see up above, we put it in the center of the plate. Then, all right, now what? Well, first you need to set the water glass. The water glass goes above the plate and a little to the right. You see the water glass number 2, and so we put it up there above the plate a bit to the right. You see number 2 over there. Okay, now back. Like this? Exactly. Now this little plate here is for the bread. You put it above the dinner plate to the left. And then there's the special knife for butter. Lay it across the top of the bread plate. So you see there the bread plate number 3, and we see the small knife number 9, and where do they go? There they go above to the left. Just as the water glass was above to the right, these are above to the left. All right, what's next? Well, of course, the silverware. The knives, the forks, and the spoons. There are different ones for each course. Now, I'm sure you see we have 2 spoons, 3 forks, and 2 knives. We already put 1 knife with the bread plate, and we see 1 fork already beside the plate. So let's see what we do with the rest of this silverware. Right, 4. There are different ones. Are you serving a salad? Yes. And soup? Yes. Okay. Take this dinner knife and put it to the right of the dinner plate. Okay, the dinner knife is number 10, so you see here it goes to the right of the dinner plate. Then put the soup spoon to the right of the knife. Okay, soup spoon we see up there, the soup spoon number 4, and so that goes to the right of the knife. So we have those 2 on the side. And now you see how it's logical because, of course, the soup will come first, so it's on the outside. You begin from the outside and you move to the inside. Next, we continue with the silverware. Good. Now to the left of the plate, first put this big fork. That's the dinner fork. And put this smaller fork to the left of that. It's for salad. Well, we have one there already, so it's already there. And so we put another one, number 6. Okay, number 6 is our dinner fork. And then beside it, we're going to put the salad forks, 6 and 7, like that. Okay, the fork that we have there, as you can see, is already there. So we have the 2 forks added. Now, what are you serving for dessert? Chocolate cake. Then you need a dessert fork. And you see the dessert fork is number 8. And so What are we told for the dessert fork? Put the dessert fork above the dinner plate with the handle pointing to the left. So we see it there. We can't put the handle one way or the other, but we have number 8 above the plate. And finally, we have the small spoon for coffee. A small spoon for coffee. That is, where's our coffee spoon? Small spoon for coffee. That is number 5, the dessert spoon. Small spoon for coffee. And we put that above it with the handle pointing to the left. So that goes above it. Above it, we have the dessert. We have the dessert above it. Dessert spoon, number 5. And I see it's missing there, so I'm going to do this on the spot here. So you see where it should be? This is where it should be. I'm doing it right on the spot there, okay? That's where it should be, number 5. So you see, this is the way it ends up. Now, we said it's logical because you're going to begin with your soup. So the soup is on the outside. You're going to begin with your salad. It's on the outside. And then when they're done, you use your actual for the main course will be closest. When you finish the meal, your dessert fork, dessert spoon are up here. So everything has logic to it. There is logic to how you set the table. Now, it may be significant that this is our last exercise, setting the table. And this may mean that we have a feast ahead of us. Well, the feast is, of course, the final exam. You have a lot to do until then. You have your homework exercises. And next time, I'll be talking with you about that. Next time will be a review. It'll be the last time I speak to you. The last lecture is a review lecture talking about what we have done. And if you have particular concerns, you're most welcome to email me about them, and I can address them in that lecture the next time. That'll be a week from today that I'll be doing that, so you will have time to do that. So thank you very much for your attention, and see you for a final lecture next week. Thank you.